We must give that 99% a stronger voice. God bless them for their spontaneity. We have to move forward to empower the 99%. 99% they're talking about. I think it's probably about 99.5%. The message of the protesters is a message for establishment every place.
House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi is an outspoken supporter of that 99%, but this week she's living it up like a 1%er. The Congresswoman is staying here at this posh Four Seasons resort in Hawaii. It's no cheap date. We're told rooms run from a couple $100 a night to $10,000 a night. Malia Zimmerman is the editor of Hawaii Reporter. She broke the story. Thank you so much for joining us. You broke another story I'm going to get to in a second about the cost of the Obamas staying there. But tell us about Pelosi's room. Is she staying at the $200 a night rooms, or is she staying at the $10,000 a night suite?
Well, typically when Nancy Pelosi comes to Hawaii, which she does every holiday, every Christmas holiday, she does choose to stay in the $10,000 a night room. And so we haven't been able to confirm she's there again this year, but in the past, that's where she's stayed every time that she's come to Hawaii.
Wow, that's fantastic. I mean, how much money must you have to be able to afford $10,000 a night? Well, we won't do that. By the way,
more
I don't know.
More than I make as a reporter. That's
more
for
than
sure.
Right, exactly. Probably more than I make as well. Take a look at. You may not be able to see this. You're on the phone. You can't see it, of course. But I have a tie on, and I wore it in commemorating Mr. Obama and Mrs. Pelosi's trip to Hawaii. It's got palm trees on it. Just wanted to point that out.
Well, great.
All right, now let's talk about Mr. Obama for a second. The families out there, and your publication said it's going to cost about $4.1 million for the time they're spending there. Where'd you come up with that number?
Okay, well, that's just what we know about. I mean, when you're trying to get information from the Secret Service or from the White House, it's very difficult, as you can imagine, especially when they use the excuse that it's about security and so that they can't tell us. But just based on what we know, just the Air Force One alone to travel from Washington, D.C. to Hawaii and back is over $3.6 million. So that takes quite a bit. And you're looking also at, that's because the flight times, Fox News reported, I think you broke the story, that it's the Air Force is reporting it's $181,000 per flight hour, slightly over that. So then you're looking at the the C-17 air cargo that brings in the presidential helicopter and vehicles, and that's at least $258,000.
Right.
We're also talking about.
Malia, I just want to know, when Nancy Pelosi, drives around the island with her entourage, what does that do to traffic?
Well, Nancy Pelosi's in a more remote place, so the Big Island is a lot larger than you can fit all the other islands into the Big Island, and it's much less populated than Oahu. So really the traffic isn't such a problem with Nancy Pelosi. She does have an police escorts there, but it's not nearly as bad as it is on Oahu, where the president is in a much more population-intense location. We have over 1 million people on Oahu, whereas the neighbor islands have considerably less people. So we're talk about being inconvenienced. It's definitely when the president comes here, there's a lot of traffic.
All right, Malia Zimmerman from the Hawaii Reporter. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Aloha, thank you.
All right, to congressional watcher Mark Tapscott on what he calls the Hawaiian hypocrisy. Mark, you listened to that a little bit. I mean, it goes on and on and on, doesn't it, sir?
Absolutely, and Washington is a target-rich environment for an enterprising reporter. I've been following Malia's work with Hawaii Reporter for some time, and she really knows how to dig.
Sir, now, earlier today, Washington Post released a story talking about the discrepancy between congressional wealth and the average American wealth, and the number comes out somewhere around 50 times. So in other words, if you're a member of Congress, your wealth is 50 times higher than the average American. How does that happen?
You know, Eric, it's not just that members of Congress themselves and their personal wealth are getting rich while they're in public office. It's Washington itself, the federal government, the federal establishment. That giant sucking sound that we hear today is not American jobs going overseas, as Ross Perot used to say. It's American wealth being sucked into the federal government because the federal government costs so much to do everything that it does. The fact that members of Congress are in a position to know things before the rest of us are, and to profit from that, as Peter Schweitzer in his great book that just came out has detailed, really is just one of a number of ways in which it's very good to be a member of Congress.
Sure. Let me do the math a little bit. A member of Congress makes about I think it's $174,000 a year. Probably pay about 45% tax, 50% in taxes. It's $85,000 a year after expenses and whatnot. Would I, as a member of Congress, without doing anything that maybe can be construed as insider or unethical or illegal, would I be able to afford a $10,000 a night Hawaiian vacation room like Nancy Pelosi?
Well, I don't know. Of course, it would depend to some degree upon your personal wealth status. Nancy Pelosi and her husband's last congressional disclosure, I think, put their total fortune at about $196 million. So it's, no sweat for them. There are other people who are in Congress who came in, and this is the best job they've ever had, frankly, in terms of salary, and they probably couldn't. There's an awful lot of people between those two extremes who, you're up here for 2 or 3 or 4 terms. Ben Nelson, who announced that he's retiring today, his net worth is $7.1 million as he leaves the Senate. It was substantially less than that, Mark, when he was first elected.
It's good to work for the people in D.C., isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
We're going to leave it there. Mark Tapscott, thank you so much.